The 18-episode self-proclaimed not-safe-for-work anthology series Love, Death, and Robots is now streaming on Netflix. And just as trailers promised, these stories take you on an intense ride through different types of animation, styles, and of course, heaps of ultraviolence and sex. I'm Kris Carr, and today on Nerdflix and Chill, we're ranking the shorts of Love, Death, and Robots from worst to best.
Oh, yeah.
Before we begin, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors on Patreon, especially our super nerd sponsor of the day, Some Assembly Required 75. Thanks, dude! Thanks to donors like you, Whitney and I don't have to try and explain to the unemployment office what we do for a living. With your help, we're able to give you more videos on lore, fan theories, and, on occasion, ruin your childhoods. Check out our Patreon and see which tier works for you. No monies? Oh, no worries. The best way to help us is by liking, subscribing, and sharing our videos. Now, on to the robots! What I really do enjoy about this anthology series is that one man's trash can be another man's treasure. These shorts range so much in tone, style, and story that the viewer's personal taste will really determine which piece speaks to them. These stories range from sci-fi to fantasy to horror, and even some absurdist comedy. It's truly a feast of compelling visuals and, on the whole, really interesting storytelling. If I'm being truly honest, I was really worried about watching these. I'm kind of a wuss, and I thought this was going to be an incredibly intense 3-hour binge. And it is, but there's lighter fare tossed in that allows you to catch your breath, and it works as sort of a palate cleanser between the particularly grim pieces. You don't necessarily even need to binge this one. Because Love, Death, and Robots is a compilation of shorts, not episodes, you can treat this as a sort of short story compilation. Read a chapter, put it down, and come back to the next tale. Love, Death, and Robots certainly does come across as gratuitous. That's gratuitous sex, violence, nudity. I probably would have named the series Sex, Death, and Sometimes Robots. There's a lot of sexual, crudely graphic stuff, but I feel like that's kind of the point. This is a collection that decidedly wanted to push the envelope and not be consumed as family-friendly fare. The show wants you to know from the beginning that its mission is to pull you straight into the darkness by opening up with something ultra-violent like Sonys Edge. I can't stress enough how epic this episode is and how you 100% should not watch this with a kid. It's brutal and brilliant. Love, Death, and Robots is the brainchild of David Fincher and Tim Miller. So, of course, it's gonna go places that are dark and sexual and make you uncomfortable. That's the point. One issue I had was that many of these shorts don't come to a conclusion. Are these complete, self-contained stories, or do we revisit these characters and worlds should the show get a second season? Are we sacrificing style over substance? Yeah, sometimes yes. That's only natural in a series that's experimenting so much with media as a storytelling form. And despite some story issues, I'd say this anthology is definitely worth your time. I've said in many of my reviews that Netflix has a pacing problem, and usually gives us too much filler in their series. Well, thanks to these capsuled stories ranging from 5 to 17 minutes, I think they may have found a solution.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh?
Well, I don't want you to panic or anything, but I think you've activated it.
Netflix, you're a completely different platform that already doesn't have to adhere to traditional standards and practices. So why conform to standard structures and show lengths? Love, Death, and Robots proves that Netflix is willing to not only explore new stories, but new ways of telling stories. Check this one out, y'all. Now, let's start reviewing and ranking these episodes. This could get slightly spoilery, guys, so if you don't want me to hint at anything, you may want to hold off until you've watched all the stories. And then you can come back and tell me how wrong my opinions are. Let's start with the worst. Number 18, The Witness. In The Witness, a woman witnesses the murder of another woman who looks a whole hell of a lot like her. Things get all timey-wimey, which I should be really into, but it's just a weird, hypersexual Run Lola Run time loop that I personally didn't find particularly interesting. It's gratuitously sexual, with our gal running around naked almost the entire time. And it's really a shame because visually, this is a really interesting style. It's got a comic book Into the Spider-Verse feel. Just, you know, if Miles Morales ended up in a dimension with a lot more gimp suits. The Witness just felt like it was trying to be edgy, softcore porn Rear Window, and it simply didn't work. It's a shame it appears so early in the series because I feel like it's a stark drop in quality from the shorts before it. Best moment? I guess I'm gonna default and say the gimp suits. Number 17, The Dump. Stupid, silly short on hillbillies living in a dump. While we're on this one, I just want to point out, man, these shorts love showing us dongers. Now, this is a goofy one, but don't worry, there's still animated gore for you to enjoy. This one has pretty standard animation, a decent story, it just isn't a real standout among all the heavy hitters here. Best moment? The dog existing in that garbage pile.
Puppy.
Oh, and eating that government worker douche nozzle. Number 16, The Secret War. In this short, apparently the Red Army dabbled in some satanic rituals in hopes of winning their war efforts. This obviously does not go well. So, the comrades we're focused on are dealing with the aftermath of that terrible decision and working to wipe out these nasty abominations that have popped up. There's a potentially great story here. I just don't think it came to full fruition in short format. And perhaps if it wasn't what closed out the series, I would have enjoyed it more. But it definitely fell flat for me. Best moment? The satanic twist. Or maybe that final battle sequence before the planes flew in. Gruesome, gritty, and real. I'm Catholic, so watching dudes fight Hellspawn feels very real to me. Number 15, Ice Age. The only live-action piece in the collection, Ice Age stars Topher Grace and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. First of all, I just want to talk about how Topher Grace's character, Rob, likes to put ice in his red wine. You don't deserve anything awesome ever, Rob, and you sure don't deserve Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
To all the sex that we're gonna
To all
have
the
and
good
to all the good
times
times, what I meant to say.
But getting that ice cube clues us into the fact that there's something hinky going on in the freezer.
Are those spooks inside?
What?
What I sort of love is that our renters don't freak out, but rather are curious and almost cavalier about what's in their retro freezer.
There's a lost civilization in our refrigerator.
The freezer seems to have a different time speed, and our new renters watch as the town moves from medieval times to the Industrial Revolution to watching a crazy war break out.
You're fighting a war in there.
Calm down. Just calm down.
Tactical nukes are going off in our refrigerator.
It's cute, it's fun, and it definitely serves as a pit stop among the more gruesome shorts. Best moment. That sweet visual effect after the civilization reaches its peak. And everything that is Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I don't know. I'm tired of looking at that broccoli in her teeth.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Number 14, Blind Spot. Robots committing heists, woo! I love the character design of all these robot thieves, and this is another fun, fast-paced story. This is one I could see a whole series built around. And while I really enjoyed it, this robotic Too Fast, Too Furious tale was a bit too mundane. Best moment. The wildcard robot pouring oil onto the CPU in what we think is his last heroic effort. Number 13, Shapeshifters. Did you love Animorphs as much as I did? Are you still just super Team Jacob? Did you wish that when he transformed, he ripped off his own skin a la Wolf Cop? Do you want to see the weirdest adaptation of Mean Girls?
You can't sit here.
Well, then this is for you. Shapeshifters explores having Lycan soldiers in our ranks. Again, we have amazing hyper-realistic animation and spectacular camera angles that at one point go first person and got me hopeful that I just left a cutscene and was about to play as a werewolf soldier. The werewolf fight is amazing and super gory. Ugh, what a way to go. If you're a sucker for military movies, this is probably going to be higher up on your list. Me? I think this needed more time to really find itself and earn more moments like I'm done being on your leash. Could work as a feature, just didn't have enough time for me. Best moment? Biting the enemy's skull for victory. Number 12, Sucker of Souls. Some awesome 2D animation and vampires. Sucker of Souls feels very much like a Castlevania short, like an extra DVD content, or like Castlevania, the college years. Different classmates, same old blood-sucking Zach Morris.
And here, the devourer of children, the black prince, the sucker of souls?
Sucker.
Again, this is a very graphic short with a grad student getting sliced up crazy bad. Highlights? Gary, who is f***ing awesome, and the fact that Dracula's terrified of cats. And honestly, that dice job they do on the grad student. Gross, but really cool looking. Again, more donger. I feel like me demanding more full frontal from the dudes of Game of Thrones really backfired on me here. Now I've got to deal with Drac chasing people around with a silly looking uncircumsaber. Anyway, if you're a big old Castlevania fan like I am, this one is going to be a fun view for you. Best moment? Drac's realization that there's cats.
He hates cats.
What?
The legend has it that feeding on them makes his flesh burn. The locals would torment him by bringing hundreds of cats to the fortress.
Number 11, Fish Night. It looks like Borderlands, so you know I'm immediately drawn in. Fish Night is a surreal, cerebral trip with some of the most stunning visuals of the entire collection. A Scanner Jurassic Parkly. If more theaters did Death of a Salesman like this, I'd probably go. Best moment? When the ghost fish start lighting up the sky. Truly a spectacle to behold.
Ghosts of an older world.
Number 10, Lucky 13. This piece is based on a military sci-fi story and stars Orange is the New Black, Handmaid's Tale, and all-around national treasure, actress Samira Wiley. Given the familiar face, the animation in this one is particularly mind-boggling. It's so photorealistic. Lucky 13 is Samira's plane, and we follow the two over the course of 19 missions they spend together. Looks like 13 has a mind of her own. This short, surprisingly, is one of the lesser violent pieces, and gives off a Serenity vibe thanks to that connection and respect for the old bucket of bolts being piloted. It was pretty refreshing to have a story that wasn't steeped in heads being ripped off and frickin' in the mix.
Right here, Sergeant.
Thank God.
I'll keep up the suppressing fire. Get your men aboard.
Copy that.
Best moment? When Lucky 13 goes down, but make sure to get her pilot out safely. 13 pretends to have her seatbelt stuck so she doesn't get blasted. And it's sweet moment in the middle of a firefight. Number 9, Azeema Blue. If you dig the art style of Carmen Sandiego, you'll love this one. All the moody layers of light and color with some really intense dark outlines. Azeema Blue is all about the meaning of life and our place in the universe. The reveal of just who and what Azeema is really interesting, and I think viewers will find this to be a really thought-provoking piece. Best moment? Azeema's dismantling. This piece is existential AF.
Azeema Blue, the manufacturer called it. The first thing I ever saw.
Number 8, alternate histories. You know how everyone's always bringing up killing Hitler in time travel scenarios? Well, thanks to Multiversity, you can watch Hitler die in 6 alternate ways. Suffocation in a case of gelatin definitely seems like the weapon of mass destruction we should be workshopping, y'all. Also, I don't think Hitler deserves to die while getting sucked off by interdimensional prostitutes. I'll die on this hill. Hard stance. Be sure to pause your screen at 6:13 so you can read what the pesky blue screen of death thinks of you. Pervert.
Annihilates time and space and destroys all life in the universe.
Best moment? Can there even be a best moment of killing Hitler? Going Star Wars feud and setting up Lincoln to shoot first had me howling.
Now it's your time to make history.
Number 7, Beyond the Aquila Rift. Gorgeously animated. Greta is so photorealistic and, dare I say, super smokin'. Tom and his team end up very, very far off their course, like light years off. And Greta is trying to soften the blow. And boy, does she. This is another one that could be considered gratuitous with its sex scene, but honestly, the animation is so realistic that I have to applaud them for making what looks like the best sex video game.
You like the view?
Unlike other scenes meant to be titillating in Love, Death, and Robots, Beyond the Aquila Rift actually is sexy. I feel like this episode is getting a lot of views, but not a lot of retention. The reveal on this that Tom is in some sort of Matrix reality is something we've obviously seen before in sci-fi, but it's executed really well, including when we really see who Greta is. Ugh! That design was crazy off-putting and awesome. Best moment. Greta's plea that she actually cares for Tom and all the lost souls that end up near her station. She's a monster, but you truly believe that she just wants to give these lost travelers the best quality of life.
I understand this. I do care for you. I care for all the lost souls that end up here.
Number 6, Suits. Suits definitely felt like the most sci-fi summer blockbuster of the bunch. With its folksy cast and twangy musical score, this one felt like if Firefly and Starship Troopers had a baby, and I was into it. In a short amount of time, you really feel for these characters, and their emotional moments feel truly earned. Like Jake, he had a whole arc, and feeling for him was really earned. Plus, that end when we pan out to see that these farmers are working on Saturn in some sort of Farmville Wakanda bubble. Oh, so rad. Best moment, Jake's sacrifice. Number 5, Helping Hand. Here's an intense piece. What you first think is Gravity the cartoon actually ends up being 127 hours. This one feels claustrophobic, and it's so high stakes I was literally on the edge of my couch. The animation, the story, the voice acting, all top notch. Detracting points for really leaning into that pun though. Don't end something like this on a dad joke, y'all. You're better than that. Who wrote that ending, me?
So you still need a hand?
Funny you should ask.
Best moment. The fact that they actually went for the brutality of this was incredible. Honestly though, come for how this was shot.
I'll be home soon.
Number 4, When the Yogurt Took Over. Yogurt becomes sentient and rules the world. And it's narrated by Maurice freaking LaMarche! Brain finally is part of a successful ploy to rule the world! He just needed some Activia! I feel like that's enough to get you to watch this fantastically absurd piece that explores government distrust.
The government declared martial law and gave the yogurt supreme executive power. Of course, some people weren't pleased at first.
Best moment. Everything in this one is fantastic, but the narration, guys, come on, you can't beat Brain.
What happens if the yogurt goes to the stars without us?
Number 3, Sonys Edge. The first episode of the series kicks off with a visually astounding piece with a heavy backstory. Beast pilot Sunny, the only female pilot in this brutal sport, was violently attacked by a local gang, which is why many believe she gives it her all on the battlefield. She's just fighting back against those guys. The fight we witness between these beasts is epic. It's the most not safe for work Poke battle of all time, and I am here for it. Now just when you think you're about to get a big old fan servicey lesbian scene, don't yank it, it's gonna get insanely violent. Or do, I don't want to kink shame anybody. Now this twist is a little obvious. You know something hinky's going on with Dicko's arm candy, but the final twist, whoo boy. This episode has some of the best world building I've ever seen, and not just from a 20-minute short. I need this to be a dark, gritty video game I can play through. Now, some people, I'm sure, feel that the graphic violence of this one is way too intense, but I think it works. Best moment, that insane beast battle. Number 2, 3 Robots. Well, this is my favorite episode. In 3 Robots, we have, you guessed it, 3 robots, exploring a post-apocalyptic city as tourists. We've got a hyped-up little orange robot, an uptight, sarcastic tall bot, and a monotone, Siri-speaking triangular gal.
Oh man, what didn't they do? They bounced them?
That's it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
These were humans. Bouncing things was close to maxing out their cognitive range.
From explaining why humans ate, fearing the possibility of a cat exploding, and more, this short is hilarious. There's plenty of dark humor about humanity in this one. Plus, Chris Parnell popping up is a goddamn delight.
Good. Now lower. Oh, by the way, I brought some friends.
Oh, me.
Best moment? Just kidding, they came from a very warm soup.
They were made by an unfathomable deity that created them for no apparent reason out of dust. Just kidding. They came from a very warm soup.
And finally, number 1, Good Hunting. Magic and steam machines! Good Hunting is the story of the son of a spirit hunter who forges a bond with a shape-shifting Huli Jing. This is actually the piece that gave me the most pause in the trailer. The violence committed against Yan is horrifying. Stripped of her powers as a Jing and demoralized and debased as a human, Yan turns to her human friend Liang to help her, thanks to his gift for automaton construction. From the 2D animation to the story steeped in Chinese folklore, this one was an incredibly fascinating story. Is it graphic and disturbing? Oh, 100%. But come on, that's the dopest looking Ninetales I've ever seen.
It's too late for that, Young. What I want is to hunt. Hunt the men who think they can own us. The men who perpetrate evil but call it progress.
I wanted much more of this story. Not just because of the mythological Pokemon tie-in, but because of the bond between our 2 lead characters, and Yan's mission for vengeance against the men who had wronged her and others. Plus, Liang's inventions were incredible. I love a good steampunk story, and involving automatons into this collection was really fun. Best moment? Jan's final transformation. Now, of course, this is just my opinion on the collection, so I want to hear your thoughts. Hit me up in the comments below with which short stuck out to you. For more videos, click to the left of my face or check us out on Roku. Once again, thanks to all of our patrons, and thank you for watching. See you, Space Cowboy.